Who is the doer of your actions? Which is a phenomenal title. I think I did make up this one this time, or Amelia made it up. Um, so who is the doer of your actions? So we have to come back to who are you? In this moment, who is experiencing? Who is looking out of the eyes? Who is it that's hearing these words, perceiving the room? I just get really blissed out saying that. So then was not a huge urge to speak. It's interesting when you're doing these videos because you're trying to be authentic. And what I mean by authentic is following the flow of life's movements. That's so abstract. So you're trying to be authentic to what wants to be expressed. Not even you're trying, there's just the momentum for that to happen. And also there's a knowledge that people have come to listen to you talk about non-duality. So to me, if you really come back to the flow, and when you really come back to the flow, then you see that there is no doer. That there's nobody doing anything. And the flow is standing on the precipice between nothing and everything. So Nisargadatta Maharaj would say, to know I am everything is love, to know nothing is wisdom, and in between my life unfolds. So it's that you have to stand in the middle of that. So there is a presence that's happening, and then you're letting the presence speak rather than your ideas and what we would call the ego's definition of what should happen or what should be. So then you could say consciousness speaks, or love speaks, or God speaks, or no one speaks. But to do this, it's very vulnerable because it's really being authentic to the flow that's happening there. So if that's not speaking, that's not speaking. If that's being really quiet, that's being really quiet. If that's not replying, that's not replying. Well, I mean, that's what the real beauty is about going to live talks. So you really, get to experience this authenticity. The other time on YouTube, a lot of the videos are edited versions of live talks or just like 5 or 10 minute talk on non-duality. And it makes it more theoretical, When I used to go to the talks in Tiruvannamalai, like listen for like, like a month, twice a day, every day. It wasn't about the words. I knew the words off by heart. It wasn't about something that I would learn. It was the energy of the talk. It was just something else. Satsang is meeting in truth. And what people now are introduced to non-duality like is through these extracts of videos, of a teacher just doing like a 5 or 10 minute video, or 5 or 10 minute video cut from their talks, maybe plastered to music. It's really not a criticism, it's the way that it unfolds. But that wasn't the way in which this was traditionally taught. It was, well, I mean, tradition is a bit nonsense because it came over to the West and so it changed. But it was giving a talk and being in this energy of truth, in this space of truth. And it's not about the teacher speaking and the students listening. It's this energy of truth, this commitment to truth. So I love it, speaking and teaching. At the moment, I teach these small book clubs because it's for me also like a time, this beautiful energetic time in which this subject is shared. And it's not me speaking, even though it looks like it's Lisa speaking. That's why I will sometimes be like, oh, wow, that's so beautiful. And after I spoke, because I really don't see it as me. It's not me speaking. It's truth coming through. And it's not you listening. It's not student, teacher. That's all in your mind. It's a space for devotion to the truth. It's incredibly sacred. But it's not sacred because of the teacher. This is everybody's mistake. It's just that there has to be a voice box in which expresses it. Otherwise, how will it get expressed? And it's all that matters in this life is waking up. Maybe that's not what appears in your life. Maybe it appears, what's important is growing your children or building a family or creating a business or being creative. That's perfectly okay. But there will become a point after 1,000 years lived where none of the pleasures of the world will give you what you'll decide, or you'll discover that none of the pleasures of the world will really give you what you're looking for. And so there will be an orientating back towards truth. And it doesn't need to be rushed if you still have stories to live out, becoming a better you, a richer you, a father, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. You have these stories. That is perfection. That is perfect. But at some point, nothing will satisfy. Everything comes and goes and changes and is up and down and left and right. Or maybe in your life, it's not about satisfaction at all anymore. Maybe it's about duty to others. You're raising a family and you're in a situation where you might not be obtaining pleasures, but you might be on day-to-day survival to try to raise your family so there's people dependent on you. Maybe this is a lot of stress or hard work, or maybe you blame yourself for having done things wrong. But it's absolutely not true. Nothing in this life will really work out. If you've gone down the business route, it can't really work out, and that will be discovered one day, that any life path that you took cannot really work out. There's a good book about this called something library, Midnight Library. That's a really beautiful book if anyone has the urge to read it. Midnight Library. And she is really deeply depressed, and then she goes into this library, and then she gets to Midnight Library and she gets to experience like all the different variations of her life, and she realizes that none of them bring her what she's truly looking for. All have their problems. But while there is a belief in that, and there is an urge to satisfy that has to be lived out. And then at some point, it will be seen that that isn't the truth, and that the truth is this moment. The truth is where no stories are. The truth is where there isn't even a you. Complete emptiness. And that emptiness, that no-thingness, that freedom that's always been craved, can only be found in the center of being. You could also say in the center of you. It cannot be found outside of you. It can only be found inside you. Inside you. And that is the I am and the empty looking. Coming back to the precipice between nothing and everything. Precipice. The precipice. And it doesn't matter what any teacher says or names it as. If we're doing this book club, I love it. We're doing I Am That, and we're doing Papa G's book, Wake Up and Raw. And, from doing that, I really see that it just doesn't freaking matter the words. Don't be a stickler for words. But every teacher's got to stick to particular words. So don't get annoyed or offended if they stick to their words, because they've got to stick to their words, because otherwise you'd be just in entropy. Is that the right word? Entropy. So what is the heart of being? The heart of being is I am, not I that's personal, not I that belongs to you, but an amness. And the amness is love. You could say feeling of love, or it's like an interconnectedness with everything. It's love. I don't know, feeling or not feeling, whether it's the first feeling that comes into the universe or not, there's all these different, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's just love. And then the empty looking, which is the nothingness, the emptiness. And when there is a movement back to them, then there is nothing looking, and then there is the heart of everything being, loving. So there's nothing looking and the heart being. And it's not separate, but not as an idea, just as it is. It's just everywhere. Nothing empty looking is everywhere, because division comes from an idea of self. I am good, I am bad. So there is the movement to the no self. And so the experiencer is no longer the character, but the empty looking. The character, though, is still experienced, and the character still remains. So this character still remains, but it's not constant. It's something that comes and goes when it's called upon and needed. When you socialize, you need more of a character. And the character is the habits and the up-to-date conditioning. The up-to-date habits, genetics and conditioning. What is it Roger used to say? Genetics and up-to-date conditioning? Forgotten what he used to say, but yeah, it's like the habits and the conditions of the body. So Lisa has a preference for something over other things. And what awakening does for the character, or what it did for my character, I don't know if that's the same for other characters, is it makes the character ghost-like. So it made my character a lot easier. Like it's like gets over things a lot quicker. It doesn't get stuck on things, and it's not seeking to find freedom. So the intensity of everything. So if somebody really insults your character, it doesn't stick. There's not a seeking, I've got to rectify my character. There might be an urge to rectify it for social, like if everybody's thinking you've done something really terrible, like there might be an urge to try to rectify that to make your life easier, because if everyone thinks you've done something really terrible, then they're going to be terrible to you. So you might try to rectify that, but there's no seeking to be that anymore, because you're home. So it's not got the urgency. When you believe you are the character, your reputation could be the most important thing is to you, because you believe the reputation is home. If I have a good reputation, I will be home. It's an energy. It's not about acting a certain way. For me, the awakening on the character level, it changed the intensity of everything, made everything more ghost-like. And then there's still seeking patterns that can sometimes arise, but they're like ghost-like too, like old slivers of things. But there is a rooting in what you are, like there's not a disconnection from what you are. So if you feel disconnected from who you are, then I'm going to give you practical advice as how to get back to who you are, as a joke. But I'm going to give you some practical advice of something that you can do. What's something that Nisargadatta Maharaj recommends is putting the personal attention repetitively in the I am. That's what Nisargadatta recommends, but if you prefer consciousness, then you can do consciousness. And yes, ultimately, you can't do that as such, because who would be the person that does that? And if that is all there is, then, and that is what's experiencing the person, and the person can't turn itself and do that. But while you feel like you are a person and that you've lost home, there can be this exercise of feeling the I am and putting the attention in the I am. Another way of saying it is the present moment, like putting the attention in the present moment. So becoming that exercise of becoming present, if that's what suits you. I personally prefer the I am, but I don't want to exclude anyone, because for some people that might be really, like they might not know what that means. That might be really far out there. What I like about Nisargadatta is he just says that he just trusted his teacher and did it for 3 years. Just trusted him, which was really sweet. And it's actually a practice I used to do as well. I don't know how I came to do it, because I wasn't like a really avid reader of I Am That because of my dyslexia. I found it quite hard. But through Roger and Ramesh, there was some form of emphasis on it, and it just was something I naturally would do. I remember one time just being in such a storm. I couldn't sleep. I was in such a mental storm and in so much pain and agony, physical agony and emotional agony. There were some things in my life that were really challenging all my security. And I remember just being in this like emotional storm. This was after years and years of practice and exploration. And just being in the first time where I was really in this hell, and I could keep putting my attention in the I am, and I could kind of also experience love simultaneously. So the I am was love. Like, so it was like, it was flittering really quickly between the two. But it's really a commitment to do. And it's also not getting into all the traps of like feeling like a failure, feeling like you can't do it. Like, it's not, that's an easy trap to fall into. I was really lucky I had Buddhist training before, which was like no expectation of the meditation. You present yourself, and if you have like a really difficult meditation where your mind is all over the place, it's like a celebration at the end. You did it. It's not, oh my God, I can't do it, I'm a failure. It's like, yeah, that's really freaking cool. I did it. I sat still through really difficult mental states for a whole hour. It's no expectation of outcome. And I realized that a lot of people that get into non-duality, they haven't done all these types of things. So when these things are suggested, they fall into the easy trap of I can't do it. And then through I can't do it, it's like blaming the teaching. Oh yes, but there is nobody. Who's she talking about? It's getting onto all these mental states. And really what we're trying to encourage is going back to the stateless state beyond you. It's the end of the attachment to all these thought processes. And that's the beauty of the I am practice, because the mind, the seeking wants to go into time. Like, seeking can only exist with the imagination of time. And then it takes on a volition of its own, your nervous system begins to get into the seeking mentality. So you get hyperly aroused by seeking, you know, so they become, the emotions and the stories all become one. It's the end of this belief in the timeline. So what is it that's still and silent right now? And that is consciousness. That is the empty looking and the I am. The mind is in movement. And so you're kind of tricking the mind. You're using the mind to still the mind. And then in that, as it begins to still, then there can be a shifting over to that which is already still. I am. Just do it. Just do it. Da, da, da. There is a song that has that in it. Just do it. Is it Nike or Coca-Cola? Now, you might all be wondering what that is. I'm not going to tell you. You have to guess. There. Okay, so we can go to questions. So if you have a question, then you are welcome to send me a question in the Telegram group. If you would